morning. How the devil are you doing this fine day? Hope you're all fit and well. Good morning also to the Snoop Squad down in Worthing. I know journalism isn't really a thing, so there's a couple of important news stories over on demolitionnews.com. You might like to steal them, just helping a brother out. I do want to give a very quick shout out to one of our regular contributors, Andy Dalvell, and more specifically to his wife. They're at the funeral of Andy's father-in-law today, so condolences from all of us here at the Breakfast Show. Hope the day goes well as well as it possibly can. I'm going to say a very quick good morning to people that are just rolling in at the moment. Andy Bullock, Ken Hatcher, Gary Muirhead, Jim Turner. Good morning to you, each and every one of you, and thanks, Gary. the worthy advertiser. I'm having a cup of tomato soup at 10:02. Seems a bit early for that. Seems a bit early. Used to go fishing at a place called Old Berry Hill, not a million miles away from where I am at the moment, and they had a machine. If the shop on the lake was closed on a Sunday, they had a vending machine. And you could have tea, coffee, and the other option was chicken soup. But everything came out of the same nozzle. So regardless of whether you had tea, coffee, or chicken soup, everything tasted of chicken soup. So thank you for reminding me of that, Ken. We are going to crack on. I do need to let you know I'm off to the London Build exhibition as soon as the show is over. I think that'll actually be my sixth and final exhibition of the year. Thankfully, this one is pretty close to home. I will be sticking around for the chat as usual, but I do have a train to catch at about 11:15, so I need to keep the show today to an hour or so, thereabouts. So, without further ado, let me roll the intro, post the question of the day, and get this show on the road. Going to say a very quick good morning to Glenn Johnston, who's just come through the door. There we are. Good morning, Glenn. And Ken Hatcher. Ask Neil how Wales is doing for me, please. I will be sure to do that. I don't suppose he'll have his laptop with him, but I'm sure he can put his finger in the air and test the way the wind's blowing. It is Thursday, the 16th of November. Welcome to the Breakfast Show. I am your host, Mark Anthony. In today's very colourful show, we're going green with Sennebogen. We're in the red with Mantovanibenne, and it's code yellow as Italian backhoe loaders go on military manoeuvres. Reanimated when machines of the past come back, and we're going to look at how Las Vegas is preparing for a Formula One takeover. But first, we're going to take a quick look back through the mists of time to see what was happening on this very day in history. On this day in 1581, Ivan the Terrible lived up to his name by attacking his son with a scepter. His son, also called Ivan, not sure if he was also terrible, died 3 days later. In 1939, Al Capone was released from Alcatraz. And I'll be talking about Al Capone on Monday. There is a reason for it. In 1940, in response to Germany's bombing of Coventry, the Royal Air Force retaliated with the bombing of Hamburg. In 1957, American serial killer Ed Gein murdered his final victim. On the same day, the pop music show 6-5 Special was broadcast for the first time from the Two Eyes Coffee Bar in London. In 1973, President Richard Nixon gave the go-ahead for the construction of the Alaskan pipeline. In 1999, the seminal rap album The Craic was released by Dr. Dre. In 2003, a diminutive 16-year-old made his debut for SC Barcelona in a friendly against Porto. You might know that 16-year-old. His name was Lionel Messi. And in 2019, Prince Andrew appeared on BBC TV to refute claims that he'd had sex with a 17-year-old. Most people, such an encounter would make you sweat, but not our Andrew, because apparently he can't. Now, before we get into the real meat of the show, I'm going to remind you very quickly of our question of the day. Just trying to sort out me good mornings. Bear with me 1 second. There we are. Peter McKenna and Chris Ford have just turned up as well. And Graham, Footy Williams. Good morning, Graham. Good of you to join us. Yes, our question of the day comes from our resident quizmaster, Mr. Gary Muirhead. And I've got to be honest, it had me stumped. He actually sent me this a couple of days ago, and I've saved it because I was trying to come up with something sensible myself. His question is quite simply this: what is the nicest thing that someone has done for you? Now, my first two thoughts, not just because she's listening in, but my first two thoughts were my father-in-law allowing me to marry the love of my life, or my wife giving me 4 children, both of which are, they're a big deal, a very, very big deal, life-changing in my case. But they're also things that kind of happen in life anyway. So I've been really racking my brain to try and remember any time I was on the receiving end of a random act of kindness. I don't get to enjoy that sort of thing very often. So the one I'm going to go with is that sign right there. It was Gary Muirhead, our resident quizmaster, that sent me that to mark our 500th show. He didn't need to. He stood to gain nothing from it. I don't think he's gained a great deal from it ever since. He just did it out of pure generosity and kindness. But what about you? What is the nicest thing anyone has ever done for you? I'd love to hear from you. Let us know in the chat. And we'll come back to that at the end of the show. Should we do some diggery type stuff? I think we should. I am not a petrol head. I have no interest whatsoever in motorsport of any kind, and Formula One, frankly, leaves me cold. However, for all its faults, I am a huge fan of Las Vegas. So when I stumbled across the film about how Sin City is being prepped for its Grand Prix, I just had to share it. Now, just hang on a second while I get it off my hard drive. Hard drive? Never mind. Let me get it off of my hard drive, and I'll bring it up for you just as soon as I can find it. It is this one, I think.
It seems like a match made in heaven. The world's most spectacular motorsport in the world's most spectacular city. While staging a Grand Prix in a well-known location might add a certain X factor, whether it's Las Vegas, Singapore or Bahrain, there's always a unique set of challenges. But you don't have to take our word for it. Here's the guy whose slightly enviable job is to design the racetrack.
A city track is special because every city is different. You have existing streets which you need to use. Sometimes you come and you have maybe a nice layout, but it's not working because you need some safety zones, runoff zones. And if there's a building in front, then the layout is not possible.
Over in Monaco, at the oldest street race on the circuit, the team's got this down to a fine art. Every year, prefabricated temporary structures are installed in the weeks leading up to the race, and then quickly taken down once the show moves on. But it's not always that easy. When the green flag is waved on the 18th of November, it won't be the first Grand Prix held in Las Vegas. That dubious honour goes to the ill-fated Caesars Palace Grand Prix. With a lack of support from City Hall and fears over the safety of having race cars on local roads, the 1981 Grand Prix was held in the car park of, you guessed it, Caesars Palace Hotel.
This isn't the real Caesars Palace, is it?
What do you mean?
Did Caesar live here?
No.
It took place during the day, and the brutal heat and famously boring track meant the event only lasted 2 years before being scratched from the Formula One calendar. But Las Vegas is the city of second chances, and this time round, Formula One has gone big. That's right, we're moving on from the casino car park. The 17-corner circuit was the result of 31 different designs, and is intended to show off the best of what this city has to offer.
First, we have a look where we want to be. In Las Vegas, we go over the Las Vegas Boulevard. This is the shot everyone knows. And then the next step is, okay, how can we make this happen? Going on the strip, but make also a track which is suitable for Formula One, where you can drive over 300 kilometers per hour, where you can have a safe track, a track where you can overtake, and where you can have all the facilities the track needs.
The track starts off with a series of turns before a high-speed stretch towards Las Vegas's newest landmark, the MSG Sphere. It then curves back round to the iconic strip where the cars race at top speed past nearly 2 kilometres of the world's most famous and iconic casinos. Then it's a series of left turns which bring the drivers back to the starting line. While it may all seem like a great idea, it was very much a shotgun wedding. After the announcement in March 2022, the team had just 20 months to get the show on the road. To house the paddock, media centre and everything else you need for this race, the Las Vegas Grand Prix took the unusual step of buying this 39-acre site a block east of the Strip to build their permanent foothold in Sin City. True to Las Vegas style, it's going to feature the largest paddock on the entire F1 circuit, over 300 metres long, 30 metres wide, and topped off with a huge illuminated F1 logo. The ground floor will feature 13 garages, which will serve as the base for each of the teams, along with 2 other floors and a rooftop area for hospitality. But with construction work starting in November 2022, the team had just 11 months to complete the build before a handover target of October 2023. To get all of this finished on time in Las Vegas was no easy task. To avoid the delays that could be caused around the long lead times of elements like escalators, elevators and cladding, these crucial systems were all purchased before the design of the building was completed. As steel beams would have taken too long to make and assemble, the structure of the building relies on concrete and rebar instead. And to speed things up even further, the plan for the building was split into 2 150-metre long buildings. 2 crews began construction at either end of the site and worked together towards the middle. At its peak, construction was running 20 hours a day with 500 people working across 2 shifts. Once the structure was complete, the team raced to add specialist equipment. Most F1 tools are made to run on European standard power, so electrical transformers had to be added to all the garages. Racing is all about speed and precision, and that's something most AECO professionals can relate to, bringing projects safely to the finish line as quickly and accurately as possible. For a city that's synonymous with construction like Las Vegas, that requires digital transformation behind the scenes too. Las Vegas approves close to 20,000 building permits every year. When it came time to ditch paper for a solution that could facilitate digital or electronic plan review between area developers and municipal reviewers, the city chose Bluebeam. Bluebeam construction software allows Las Vegas to standardize reviews with easy-to-use markups and custom toolsets. It also features the studio environment for real-time project collaboration, crucial for keeping multiple reviewers, disciplines and jurisdictions in sync. With Bluebeam, Las Vegas cut their previous 8-step paper-based process in half, saving weeks of time and hassle on each review. It's also saved them at least $600,000 in annual printing costs, freeing up valuable office space in the process. For more information or to start your free trial, head over to bluebeam.com. Back at the race, for the drivers to put the pedal to the metal, not just any surface will do. Las Vegas's normal bumpy cracked roads aren't fit for $20 million race cars.
They are so close from the bottom of the car to the track, so they will feel every bump. So it's very important to have an even track and to have the right grip that the cars can overtake, that they can be fast in the corners.
Ahead of the event, $80 million was spent resurfacing Las Vegas's roads to bring them up to Formula One standards. That meant stripping up to 25 centimetres of existing road and adding 4 new layers to create a surface which is flat to within a tolerance of 3 millimetres for every 4 metres. It might all be enough to satisfy Formula One, but it's not the only show in town, and the race has some big neighbours it needs to keep happy. Unlike other street circuits, where the roads used for the track are closed off for days, in Las Vegas, the Grand Prix is only allowed to close the roads for 7 hours at a time.
What is really also unique here is that we open the track after every session in a lot of different areas to make sure that that there is the right access to the casinos, to the hotels and restaurants who are there. People will go on the track and use the track after the sessions, and then it needs to be closed on a very short notice again to be ready for the next day, for the next Formula One sessions.
When the lights go out on the Las Vegas Grand Prix, it'll add an iconic new venue to a sport known for its glitz and glamour. And for the City of Neon, a new fixture as permanent as white lions and blue men. But with so much riding on this race, what'll make it go down as a staple in the F1 calendar?
Oh, for us, the race is a success. Firstly, if it's a safe race, people are enjoying it. For us, it's the most important, of course. It's a dream for us to work here and to be involved in this project in Las Vegas. The first race is always the most exciting. So we are always, even if it's a normal race with nothing happens and so on, for us it's the most exciting race.
Yeah, as I said, I don't have a clue about Formula One, but I would be more than happy to pop over there if someone would like to send me and pay me, of course. Things are going to get colourful in just a second, but I do want to throw over to the chat because there's been some good points there. I know Ken Hatcher was enjoying that, and he says, shame they didn't do it in London. Can you imagine the rigmarole you'd have to go through to actually do that in London? Peter McKenna says there's some awesome statistics here. Absolutely right. I suggested it would take 407 years to get planning permission to do that in London. Chris Ford says, I don't know about 407 years. They'd only have to find one ute and a bat, and it would never happen. Fair comment. And as far as road closures are concerned, if you want to do it the cheap way and the efficient way, just stop oil protesters to close the roads. It's fine. They don't need permission. But the most telling comment on all of these, it's not this one, although that is very good. ULEZ Formula One. Can you imagine? Sadiq Khan would be up in arms because, frankly, he's up in arms all the time. But Gary Muirhead has rightly said they're spending all this money in Las Vegas and they've still got a massive homeless and poverty problem right there on their doorstep. Shocking. As somebody that was in Las Vegas earlier this year and witnessed that firsthand, I can absolutely 100% agree with that. I did mention it when I got back, and we drove over a drainage culvert, and there were tents, homeless people's tents, as far as the eye can see. Suella Braverman, who has made the lifestyle choice to be unemployed, but Suella Braverman would have blown a sprocket had she seen it, all those tents, because she doesn't like tents, apparently. Now, I did say things were going to get colourful, and they're about to. Right after this.
If you are enjoying this episode, please consider supporting the show. You can leave us a tip at buymeacoffee.com/demolition news.
Yeah, in keeping with our Formula One film that we've just seen and with motorsport in general, I'm going to take our colours in order, and we're going to start with red. Big red. A big red Liebherr demolition excavator equipped with a Mantovanibenne attachment. And I can't help saying Mantovanibenne without Italian inflection, so forgive me. But we're going to start with red. Here we go. Yeah, that Liebherr 980 demolition machine was my pick of the machines at the last Bauer exhibition, which was just over a year ago now. Seems to have found a perfect partner with that Mantovanibenne attachment. Can I answer it? Not well. Peter McKenna says it's a Liebherr, it's fine, and then he drools. Wipe your mouth, sir. And Gary Muirhead has asked, is that another Marco Larini conversion? Wow, his company does produce some amazing equipment. His company does produce some amazing equipment, but that right there, that's a pure Liebherr. That's straight out of the Liebherr factory. The high reach and all. Not as sexy as an explosive demo, though. Yeah, I'm not entirely sure I agree with that. I think that 980 is one of the sexiest demolition machines I've ever seen. We're going to stick with the colours right after this. Yeah, we've had red, so obviously traffic light system. Next up is yellow, code yellow, in fact. And code yellow is the call sign for military manoeuvres featuring some very smart Venieri machines. Yeah, fantastic choreography and some very smart machines as well. Now, we've had Mantovanibenne and we've had Venieri, both of which are Italian. You can tell that by the way I'm saying their names. So it's time to switch things up a bit with some German-built kit. We'll be right back with that right after this.
Since the finance bill came into effect in April, the construction industry has seen a surge of fuel thefts. The rising cost of living has placed an additional risk of theft by employees and contractors, as well as opportunistic thieves. By using diesel dye and placing warnings of its use, you are sending a clear message that this is your fuel.
We've had red and we've had yellow. It is now time to complete our traffic light of excellence with a trip to see some lean, green timber carrying machines. No, I realise it doesn't count for anything, but in the grand scheme of things, rather. But if someone asked me to choose my favourite colour in the field of construction equipment, I'm not sure I could choose between the Sennebogen green and the Kobelco turquoise. Any thoughts on that? I'm erring towards Kobelco. Americans, they come in turquoise over here, just so you know. Now, our final film is coming up, and if you like old machines, I think you're going to like this. We'll be right back after this.
If you would like to buy a limited edition Break Fast show sticker, head on over to buymeacoffee.com/demolition news/extras.
I do like to share films of previous generation machines. The trouble is, there's not much footage of the machines in their heyday because at that time, not everyone was carrying a high definition camera in their pocket all the live long day. While seeing these machines in action at Vintage Ranch is fine, still no substitute. However, when someone has managed to reanimate a machine from the past, it's a different matter entirely. I love this.
I started on my own in 1969. The first track machine I ever bought was a JCB 6D. My passion was always diggers. I drove the first 6C Joe Bamford made. He came down and handed it over to my ex-boss. And I saw the 6D advertised in the paper. We went and picked it up and brought it back. And that's how it all came about. Brings back a lot of memories, especially when you get them drive them. And you want arms and muscles as big as rugby balls. Against today, the noise in the cab of those today and what it is today is two different things. But then again, those days, that's a fantastic machine. That's a nice British brand, isn't it?
Do you know, it's funny, given that we've been talking about colours today, yellow and red really shouldn't work together. It's a bit rhubarb and custard, isn't it? And yet JCB has managed to make that colour scheme absolutely iconic, and great to see one back in action as well. Great to see it being brought back to life. That's going to wrap up today's show. Well, the main part at the very least. I'm going to roll the outro in just a second before leaping gazelle-like over into the chat to see what you're all saying today. If you can't stick around, please stay safe. Look after yourself, your family, your friends, and your colleagues. Do try to stay dry, even though it is chucking it down out there. But if you do have the time and the inclination, please stick around, because I'll be back with the Craic immediately after this final word from our key show sponsor. Morning, gang. How on earth are we all doing? I'm going to throw this one up very, very quickly. Andy Bullock. Morning, Andy. Says, haha, I remember how stiff the levers were. And what a weird operating position with the levers down beside the seat there. Very, very odd. Fair play, built to last year. They don't make them like that anymore. Let's have a look. I'm going to go back to the beginning of the chat just to be absolutely fair on everybody. Where are we? Who was first off the mark? Our friend Gary Muirhead was first off the mark. Good morning, Mary. Mary? Good morning, Gary. Thank you very much indeed for being here, but thank you also for our question of the day. I don't normally when Gary comes up with the questions, yes, I have something I can relate to that. And I really struggled. And listen, I'm not trying to big myself up here, but I'd like to think that over the years I have actually done random acts of kindness for friends and for complete strangers. I don't, unless I'm just being completely ignorant, I can't remember too many instances where somebody has gone out of their way, just done something for me, completely altruistic, not because I'm a journalist, not because I've got an audience and all of that, just because it's a nice thing to do. Really struggled. So I ended up with that. Honestly, you have no idea. It wasn't the sign, although I think the sign is fantastic. It was kind of proof, because it coincided with our 500th show. It was proof that what we've come up with together as a show format and the community that's been built around it, it was like we came of age, and that just kind of wrapped it all up. Thank you, Gary. Jim Turner says, good morning, Jim. I hope you're fit and well. Hope you haven't got too much rain where you are. Looks like Ken Hatcher most certainly has. Yeah, it is. I've got a walk of about 4 minutes from here to my local train station. train right into London, so I'll be nice and dry, and then I'm going from Clapham Junction overground over to Kensington Olympia, so I'll be dry on. But the journey from here to the train station and from the train station to Olympia, I'm going to get drenched, aren't I? And here's a weird thing. So my youngest daughter, Courtney, who is here at the moment, I mean, not in here, but she's hereabouts at the moment. She had booked to take her, my mum, to take her mother, my wife, and Fred out for lunch. Booked it months and months ago. Where are they going? They're going to Kensington. Where am I going today? Completely at random. Kensington. We may even meet up. We'll see. See how it goes. Andy Bullock is here as well. Good morning, Andy. Hope you're fit and well, my friend. Nice Union Jack you've got on your logo there, or your profile. Let's have a look. Good morning to the Worthing advertiser. Yes, good morning to those fine folks. I use the term fine advisedly. But as I say, there's a couple of hot news stories over on demolitionnews.com, which they might like to borrow. Wouldn't be the first time. I'm having a cup of tomato soup. Now, I've just said, I think that was at 10:02. Why are you having tomato soup? And I'm saying that as a Heinz tomato soup aficionado. Why are you having it at 10:02 in the morning? I'd like to know. There is our question of the day. What is the nicest thing anyone has done for you? Come to that in just a second. Ken Hatcher, I am scheduled to meet up with 4 or 5 people while I'm there. Neil being one of them, and his colleague Siobhan. I couldn't think of the word. Colleague Siobhan. And good morning to both of those. I'm meeting up with my mate Carly as well. I'm also meeting up with Matt Malloy. Matt Malloy, cameraman, helped me start Diggers and Dozers. He then moved on to other stuff, but he's going to be there as well. So I'm meeting up with him as well. So I should be drinking lots of coffee and talking a lot. So if I'm a bit croaky tomorrow, I apologise in advance. Glenn Johnston is here. Good morning, Glenn. Thank you for joining us. Also joining us is our friend Mr. Footy Williams and Chris Ford. Chris Ford says, good morning, fellow operators. Dig deep and cast wide. Sound a bit like a preacher when you do that. I don't have a preachery type voice. I'd like to sound like Chuck D from Public Enemy. He's got a very preachery voice. Dig deep and cast wide, my people. Yes, very good. Peter McKenna is here as well. Morning, Peter. I hope you're well as well. Now, we're going to go back to the question of the day. And the guy that asked the question has actually come up with an answer. My boss and my best friend, that's a good combination, that I'm working for at the moment, paid for me and my family to have a week's holiday in Scotland. A fantastic guy. You're in Scotland, but I take your point. And Scotland, frankly. I'm still kicking myself that I haven't actually managed to visit it in the last couple of years. Obviously, the tail end of COVID made it virtually impossible. But I've had a couple of plans dashed. Been trying to get up to Scotland, and I will. I promise I will. Let's have a look. Graham Footy Williams says his dad bought him his first motorcycle, and his mum bought him a Harley before she passed away. I remember you telling me that in the past. Yeah, that would be pretty memorable, wouldn't it? Let's have a look. Looks fantastic. That is talking about the Las Vegas Formula One arrangement. Imagine, are they? I don't know if there's any Formula One experts in the chat today. Are they doing the race at night? Because if they are, it's going to look fantastic. The Las Vegas Strip at night is an awesome thing. I may have mentioned this before. If I have, please apologise or turn off the sound and ignore me. First time I ever visited Vegas, I flew in via Los Angeles. So flew into LAX, bit of a layover, jumped on the next plane and flew over. And if you fly from LA, it doesn't really matter where you fly from, but flying from LAX to Vegas, McCarran International Airport, you're flying basically over the Mojave Desert for about an hour. There is just pitch black. There is nothing. You can see stars. It is just black, completely nothing. And then all of a sudden, the plane kind of banks to one side, and there is Las Vegas. And it is so bright, the neon there is so bright, it basically illuminates the sky. There's like a column of pure neon light goes up to the sky. Astonishing. So, yeah, I tell you what, if they actually do the Grand Prix at night, I might even tune in and watch. Even though I don't know any of the drivers, I don't know any of the cars, I don't know anything about what they're doing, but I'd just like to see Vegas. Ken Hatcher says, shame they didn't do it in London. Can you imagine? Can you imagine? I mean, obviously, London as a very, very ancient city, it doesn't really lend itself to high speed. I was trying to think of any bits where you could go high speed. I guess there's bits of the North Circular Road, which is not, frankly, not as glamorous as the Las Vegas Strip. Trying to think of places where you can go fast. But can you imagine, A, trying to get planning permission out of the bureaucrats and bean counters that we have in this country? And can you imagine trying to get that past Sadiq Khan? But it would interfere with our cycle superhighway. Oh, God. People. I have to agree with our friend Gary, though. They're spending all that money in Las Vegas, still got a massive homeless and poverty problem right on their doorstep. I will, and I'm sure it's on a shelf behind me here, I will dig out, and I'll give it to somebody if somebody would like it. There is a book that a journalist wrote, it must be 15 years ago, possibly even more than that. He'd gone to Las Vegas to do some reporting, like us journalist types do. And he saw some people walking into a storm drain late at night and got to talking to some people about it. And it was basically explained that the people that are working as waitresses and waiters and porters and cleaners and all that kind of thing in Vegas, by and large, migrant labor, not migrant, well, some of them are migrant in terms of the fact that they're from Mexico and Puerto Rico and places like that. But there's also people coming in from other sides of America. And although they are, they're working in one of the most glamorous cities in the world, they can't actually afford to live there. So a lot of them have set up home in the storm drains. Very famous book. And as I say, I've got a copy here. I will dig it out. I wish I could remember what it was called, but it really is absolutely fascinating. Heartbreaking as well. But I'll dig that out at some point. Peter McKenna says some awesome statistics right there. Yeah, it is one of those things with things like Formula One and with the Olympics and the World Cup. It's almost like money is no object. We've decided we're going to host a Grand Prix in Las Vegas. What does that mean? Well, it means we're going to remove basically, that best part about 10 miles of road down to base level and rebuild it as smooth as silk, which is, in terms of legacy, fantastic thing. I've driven down the Las Vegas Strip a couple of times. I've been down it on a motorbike as well, on a Harley, funnily enough, given that we were mentioning Harleys. I wasn't riding, I was on the back of somebody else's. But yes, nice, smooth Las Vegas Strip. Wouldn't that be nice? And as Chris Ford has rightly said, they'd only have to find one newt or a bat here in the UK and the whole thing would stop. Yeah, I've been on projects like that, and shrews, and what was the other one that I had? There was a breed of mouse, I think, stopped a road project once, and I've even known projects to be stopped for particular types of flora and fauna. That's weeds to the most of us. If you need to close a road quickly, get Just Stop Oil protesters to close it. Absolutely. You need some super glue because, they do like to affix themselves to things. There's our friend Garvin at Mostly Diggers saying, ULEZ, yeah, can you imagine? Can you imagine? Have to stop every 3/4 of a lap to pay your ULEZ charge. Grant says, I would have done it on the M25. That would be the slowest. The single slowest and the most boring Formula One race ever. Weaving your way around the M25 as slow as all balls. Now, question of the day. And I don't know whether this makes me feel proud or slightly ill. My other half has contributed this. Question of the day was, someone's done something really nice for you, and she says, you, that's me, making us feel safe and happy every day. And thereby ruins my credibility as, the industry bad guy. I'm a no-nonsense, grenade-chucking journalist. And then she slips in the back door and reminds everybody that I'm a nice guy at heart. I'm really not. Bit like HS2 Garrett, yeah, absolutely. Graham's in complete agreement with me. As I say, I went around with Fred on the last day of Bauma back in October last year, trying to decide which basically trying to decide which were my favourite machines at the show. And I remember specifically my favourite, that 980 demolition machine from Liebherr, and second was the SK 1400 from Kobelco. Funny that I've ended up covering both of them since. There you are. You don't need Formula One. Watching some of these idiots on the road, you'd think they're on a racetrack trying to get to work. Ain't that the truth as well? We covered that one. No, it's not a Marco Lorini conversion. That's actually a thoroughbred Liebherr. Not as sexy as explosive demolition, though. Yeah, I'm not so sure about that. I think we were talking about... these were the Sennebogens. Awesome machines. Smooth to operate, fuel efficiency in its prime. Totally agree. And Jim Turner enjoyed the music and the machines as well. And if I think you should patent that. If anybody at Sennebogen ever uses that as a marketing slogan, I think you should get a payout. You don't get bogged down with a Sennebogen. Wish I'd thought of that. Let's have a look. Andy Bullock. You're saying, I remember how stiff the levers were. Yeah, I think I caught the tail end of the red and yellow JCB experience. I mean, I started in 87 thereabouts, and I think some of the backhoe loaders, and I'm not even sure if they were purely for Britain, but some of the backhoe loaders were still red and yellow and that kind of thing. I'd missed the 6D. Obviously knew about it because you'd still find them about the place. But yeah, that red and yellow, as I say, shouldn't work. It is rhubarb and custard. Terrible colour combination, and yet in JCB's hands, iconic. Goes to show, built to last. I don't know. I'm hoping that JCB are actually producing a longer film on that machine. I don't know when the 6D would have been. I'm guessing it would have been sometime around the 70s, give or take. 70s or very, very early 1980s. Not sure when, but I mean, whatever way you cut that machine is 45, possibly 50 years or more old. And look at it. And I realise there's a lot of work got into it to get it back looking like that, but fantastic stuff. Graham Footy Williams says, I drove a cat in a quarry once. It was lime green, working for Lafarge. 2 pedals for going forward and back and a joystick in the centre. So weird to drive. Lime green. Not enough lime green about the place, I don't think. Chris Ford spent hours on a 6D, even had an 807B exciting machine to drive, as one of the tracking levers used to stick in with no rhyme or reason. I've had cars like that, made for an interesting time loading on a low loader or tracking to the edge of the dig. Yeah, I bet it did. Let's have a look. Dan Cohen. Bloody nightmare between pissing rain, busted hydraulic hose, and filling up 100 litres of oil. Bloody joys of plant work. Yeah. Would you have any other way? Question of the day, Dan, was what is the nicest thing that anyone has ever done for you? Be interested to hear from you. Jim Turner says, we've got a good one. Okay. Question of the day. After I'd been poorly, I was on 3 monthly blood tests. It really used to mess with my head. I kept thinking every twinge meant I was ill again. I can relate to that. So my consultant let me have a test every 6 weeks. He didn't have to do it, but he was sympathetic to my mental health, not just my physical health. He also booked me in for an MRI test when I tore a disc in my back, as my GP wouldn't do anything. Even though he was almost 100% positive it wasn't cancer related, he's an absolute, I'm going to guess, gent. Because my version of the comment there runs out. Yeah, absolutely. This is not to big me up. The sort of thing I may revisit this question at some point, because I think there's possibly another way to word it. I was in a queue at a McDonald's in Sutton, 3-4 miles over there, just the run up to Christmas. This is years ago, absolutely years ago. And there was an old lady in the queue with what I believe to be her granddaughter. And the pair of them had clearly been to the cinema because the little girl was carrying a poster and she still had a little bit of popcorn left in a bag and everything else. And her grandmother was trying to buy her a Happy Meal. And I think the Happy Meals at the time were about 99p. And the old girls looked through her purse and she had 97p. and the spotty prat behind the counter said, "I'm sorry, we can't serve you. You're 2p short." Bearing in mind, it's 2p, and bearing in mind also it is the run up to Christmas. So I threw 20. I literally threw 20p at the guy to round out the money. 2p, but that is the kind of thing I was looking for. And my wife, when I told her what the subject was going to be, she said that she'd had one not that long ago. She'd gone to a car park where she'd gone into the car park. Turns out that the car park machine was only taking cash, and she had no cash on her. And a passing stranger said, "Oh, don't worry, there you go." And it was like £1, not a big deal, but £1. And that person just, out of the goodness of their heart, just paid for it. Isn't that nice? Wouldn't the world be a better place if we could all do a bit of that? Let's have a look. Now we know who was driving that Harley. You don't. It was a mate of mine in the demolition business. He actually owns a Harley, but a bunch of demolition guys for an NDA conference, the National Demolition Association conference, had hired a bunch of Harleys, and they were riding out into the desert. And he said, "Do you want to come?" And I said, "Well, I've got no gear, and I certainly haven't got a Harley." He said, "Jump on." We did. It was brilliant. Question of the day. The day I met some of you guys at Plant Works. Wish we all could have been there. That day would have been even more memorable. Yeah, it certainly would. But our day will come. And red and yellow does go together. Strawberry jam and custard is a bloody good combination. You have a point. Jam, roly-poly and custard. Oh, I'll probably not be able to think of anything else now. Nicest thing anyone's ever done for me is Mick Norton helped me get my safety tickets. Not got to pay anything. Thank you to Mick Norton, and yeah, we did. Well, as a group, we did do that. Obviously, our friend Footy was on the verge of losing his cards. Our regular contributor Mick Norton reached out to those fine folks at Nocken. I say reached out, I think he kind of lent on them quite a bit, and they rode to the rescue. It's the kind of thing we can do. See if you can match that, worthing advertiser. Yes, with your finger on the industry pulse like you have. Right, people, that's going to do me. I need to go and put on a different pair of trousers, put on some smarter shoes, go and grab the brolly out of my car, and then make way to the airport. Train station. I'm not flying to London. I don't run to that level of expense. I'm going to be back here tomorrow. Lord alone knows what the show is going to be tomorrow, because I've got no content for it whatsoever. I am taking the Wii camera with me today, so I will be bringing you some footage from London build, just to show you what it looked like. But until tomorrow, everybody go and have a good day. Try and stay safe. Try and stay dry. Try and stay warm. And be nice. If you can be anything, just be nice. Find somebody that's... And I know we're going about mental health and all that, and that's part of it, and please feel free to do that as well. But if somebody's just a bit down, cheer them up a bit. Go and give them a hug. Do you know, I'm going to do this very quickly, just because you know that I went to this time last week. I left the show and I went up to Birmingham to do a speech for the retirement of my mate John Woodward. And I met up with a bunch of people there, lots and lots of people that I've known for years. And it's a big old manly industry, isn't it? So we're all doing big manly vice-like grip handshakes. And two people up there, hadn't seen them for quite some time, both gave me a hug. I think men should hug more often. Gave me a nice fuzzy warm feeling, and not in a sexual way. Just a nice, warm, fuzzy feeling. So, here's me sending hugs to you. I'll be back tomorrow. Till then, everybody, have a fantastic day and be nice. See you soon.